ESPN presents Major League Baseball Magazine. This week's cover story: you used to flip them, you used to trade them. Now you pay the big bucks for them. Baseball cards and memorabilia.
It's turning from a hobby into a business.
We'll also focus on a Tiger with a somewhat different perspective. Would you believe a pinch runner with his own fan club?
I don't know, that must be that small group of people who I've fooled so far.
And we'll take you around the league, where the fine art of sliding reaches a new low.
Slid a little too early, didn't he? But he got some face burns there.
This is Warner Fusel. Lured by the promise of a 1955 Roberto Clemente, or maybe a 1959 Life of Ted Williams, they have come to Atlantic City for the 9th Annual National Sport Collectors Convention. Tons of cards and baseball memorabilia under one roof, the closest earthly parallel to collector's heaven.
This is the happening in card collecting.
I expect to have a good time for the 4 days and, buy some cards, sell some cards, and just have a good old time.
There are 575 people, dealers, tables in this room, and I would say 90% of them are here to make money.
Make some money. That's what we're here for.
Most of the dealers gear up for this show. They get all the good merchandise and bring it in here because this is where the major buyers will come and do their purchasing.
How much money did you bring with you?
I probably have equivalent of about 15,000.
You bring a lot of money with you?
3 grand.
You gonna spend it all today?
I hope not. I hope I find something special, one special thing. That's what I'm looking for.
Just a tremendous amount of memorabilia is on display here. Literally, in this room right now, there are millions and millions of dollars worth of merchandise on display. We've seen everything from Honus Wagner baseball cards to Babe Ruth uniforms, Ty Cobb cards. Just a tremendous amount of memorabilia is on display here.
There are even a few former stars on hand for an autograph or two, and an appreciation of a burgeoning industry.
Everybody talk about if I could have saved this 62 rookie card or 59 rookie card or something like that, I would be worth a lot of money now. But that's the way it is going. Baseball has been America's pastime, and I think this shows you what it's all about. You have football, you have basketball, but nobody trade cards like in the baseball game.
It's no secret. What once was child's play, a hobby held together by rubber bands and stuffed in a shoebox, has today become big business.
People who do this for a living, such as myself, it is a business. It is a business. It's no different than running another type of an operation where selling consumer goods. This just happens to be a collectible.
The well-knowledge dealer, people who come in here and who are serious about collecting and serious about buying good cards, see it as a way of making money. And that's what this is. It's turning from a hobby into a business.
The natural extension of any business is the promise of investment. The same rules apply to memorabilia. Buy low, sell high.
I was 7 years old, and my mother took me to a flea market in Englishtown, New Jersey, where I grew up, and I found a Babe Ruth baseball for $10, which is worth about $2,000 now. I still have it. And when you can buy something for $10 that's worth $2,000, you get into it too.
I still remember being 11, 12 years old. You'd want to bring your cards to school to collect with your friends or to trade. And you always had to be careful if you leaned forward too much about the cards dropping out of your pocket and the wrong girls seeing it. Oh, you still collect. We would flip them. We would trade them. Nowadays, I see kids that I teach, the same age. On occasion, they'll bring a card in, but more likely they'll bring in the price guide. And the price guide will show which cards they have. They have them checked off and big circles around the dollar value. And this seems to be the subject of conversation with the kids now. Not trading them, but how much their cards are worth.
What's your favorite card?
Kent Herbeck.
Kent Herbeck, huh? Do you have only one of his cards, or do you have a whole bunch?
I've got pretty many of them.
Yeah, because it's a good investment to get those?
Yeah.
Yeah, explain to me why it's a good investment to buy a lot of one guy.
Because if he does a great job, the cards go way up.
So you could make some money, huh?
Yeah.
You looking forward to that in about 10, 12 years?
Businessmen, bankers, and stockbrokers no longer feel compelled to keep their other life a secret.
These closet enthusiasts who have had their 51 collection or their 53 collection sitting in a closet somewhere collecting dust, afraid to pull it out. Now they're pulling it out and showing it to their friends and telling how much money it's worth. Makes it a big difference.
Here's Duke Snyder.
How about if I trade you a couple of Mario Mendoza cards?
Nah. I remember this man when I did my homework in Ebbets Field. I used to sneak in. No, you can't give me 2 for 1 for anything on him.
You know, it's just like the stock market. Is he going to be around 5, 10, 15 years from now? Is he going to make the Hall of Fame? And that's what's going to make that card worth money down the road.
The value placed on specific cards is a science in itself, as explained by the Dean of Baseball Card Pricing, Dr. James Beckett.
As the season goes on, there's a give and take of how well the player's doing, how popular that set is, how many cards were produced. My job is to try to be a middle person to make the best determination I can of what the average selling price is. And it's very difficult because it's a moving target. Dealers will try to perhaps raise the price where collectors will try to find bargains. There's been an acknowledgement that there has been, at least in the past, some investment potential for baseball cards, that it's become more of a respectable hobby.
An expensive one, too. An older card like the 1951 Bowman Mickey Mantle rookie card can command more than $6,000, and his 52 Topps is worth more than $8,000. But the formula that measures the number of cards printed against a player's on-field performance applies as much to the Mick as to the Chicago Cubs rookie first baseman Mark Grace. Amazing Grace is having an excellent year, and his rookie card is already worth $2. 20 years from now, this card could be even more amazing. As with any collectible, the better the condition, the higher the value. That's where Mr. Mint comes in. Alan Rosen of Montvale, New Jersey, who spends $4 million a year buying cards and who spares no expense in Atlantic City.
I would pay $1,000 for that card.
For this card?
Yes.
I'll take it.
And I would pay $350 for that card.
I'll take it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
In 1982, I sold both my businesses to go into this full-time, put all my eggs in one basket. And I did it full-time, and it worked. I started advertising. I doubled and tripled my advertising budget. And it catapulted me to the top. There are people who don't like what I do and don't like what a lot of us do. And I respect that. I really do. I know people, I know very good friends of mine who still like to trade. You know, they won't buy a car. They like to trade. I'm sorry to say that has gone by the wayside. It's fallen by the wayside. We're talking about business here, and we're talking about big business.
But for all the talk of money, investments, and $1,000 wads, the business thrives because of baseball. For both dealer and buyer alike, it's a chance to further explore the numbers, the heroes, and the oddities of a game they have loved since childhood. One that opens new doors every day, but never lets go of its past.
I buy for the person in my heart, the person who, you know, I don't care what the price of it is, because I love the guy, or I want the guy for myself, not because of the numbers that he did or anything like that. That's why I buy them.
We are in the business of selling it, but we do feel very strongly about the pieces themselves and the nostalgia of baseball. And that's why we're doing it, because we love the game, and we love this representation of the game.
That's the great thing about the hobby. It's tracking what is America's pastime, and so it's a never-ending cycle that hopefully will just continue to grow.
In the news, Don Slaught gets ahead in the count. Literal interpretations aside, Don's headache really begins when he discovers that he's out. Meanwhile, Randy Bush steals a base, but it isn't pretty.
And Tuttleton has trouble getting the ball out of his glove, and Bush steals second.
Stealing? Oh, that was generous. He self-destructed out there near the bag.
It blew up.
That's right. He just completely fell apart.
And Craig Biggio finds that the longest distance between 2 points can be slightly embarrassing. Boston's Ted Williams. In 19 years of baseball, he hit over 318 times for a lifetime average of 344. Some called him the Thumper, and some the Splendid Splinter. But everyone called him one of the very best to ever play the game.
I think Ted Williams probably was the greatest hitter that I ever saw, and maybe the greatest hitter of all time. Who knows?
He was perfection. Ted could do things at the plate that not many other normal beings could do.
I played a ton of baseball, and I had a million experiences up at that plate. And I was observant. And it doesn't take all brains to figure this out if it happens to you so many times that, gee, through repetition, finally registered. And I mean, I had that great good fortune that I played so much that gee, it came to me. Baseballically, I was pretty good.
Ted was never better than in 1941, the year he hit 406, the only man to reach 400 in the last 57 years. And his dramatic 3-run homer in the bottom of the ninth at the 1941 All-Star Game really convinced folks they were watching a living legend. A man who could rise to almost any occasion, only to swallow the glory with schoolboy modesty.
Yes, hitting that home run in the All-Star Game in the ninth inning was certainly a big thrill, and I'll never forget the rest of my life.
The 400 fever grew as the 41 season progressed, and it became apparent that Williams had a shot at the fabled plateau. Then on the last day, with Ted batting .399.6, the question arose if he'd play the final doubleheader.
Jack Mulaney came down. We were sitting in the dugout. He said, Ted's hitting 400. Is he going to play the game? So I looked at Ted. I said, Ted, you going to play? Sure, I'll play. It's just one of those things.
There was no doubt in my mind that I was going to play. I didn't even think about sitting out. And that first game, I think I got 3 for 4. And, you know, well over 400. And then I remember distinctly that he came to me the second game, before the second game, and he says, how do you feel? And, I mean, there was no doubt about it. I said, I want to play. And as things turned out, you know, boom, I got 3 more hits. So it was a great day for me.
2 years later, Ted went to war, missing 3 full years in his prime. In the 50s, he was called back and missed 2 more years. And in 1957, word got around that Ted was getting old, that he no longer pulled with power. The famous Williams shift was discontinued. The old man hit .388.
I remember one day I went to Chicago and I hit 4 line drives right into center field. One through shortstop. And I want to tell you, all of a sudden, the word gets around, you know, these pitchers got a union in the big leagues, you know. If a hitter's going good, they're right away. They got it going. And the word was, he's getting old, he can't pull the ball. And all of a sudden, everything started opening up. It's the only reason I hit .388 again. The only reason. I started to get holes out here that I never had before. Summer come, lighter bat, boom, pulling the ball. And heck's sake, it was easy. In fact, with a little luck, I might hit 400 without any sweat that year. I hit the ball good.
The beat goes on in the second half of the year, and the players appear ready to reach new heights with the glove. Every team needs a wild card.
Jim Walewander, Detroit Tigers, 32.
And deep in the Detroit Tigers deck is Jim Walewander.
Here we have one Jim Walewander, and you might know about him. He once played 36 holes of golf wearing heavy construction boots. When he played for the Mud Hens, he had no drapes, so he used aluminum foil over the windows. And his taste in music has been the subject of some conversation. It says his favorite group is the Dead Milkmen.
Right here, Rodney Anonymous Mellencamp. These are my boots. Right here. These are the ones I wear. Those are my golfing shoes. See, Rodney's a big golfer, too, I think. And he's wearing his golfing shoes in that.
Jim likes the Dead Milkmen so much, he invited them to what turned into a most historic game.
He may have done it. This is wild stroke toward right. It is gone. A home run for Jim Walewander. His first.
It was a monster blast off Willie Frazier. And my parents were there, and the Dead Milkmen were there. They took off because, I don't know, the sunlight got to them or something. And my fan club was there.
And it takes you an inning and a half to unfold that banner anyway.
It was covering the whole center field bleachers. Pretty great. And then it ripped right in half.
As a pinch running specialist, some days for Jim are better than others.
What's a good day for a pinch runner? Oh, let's see. When you're told to get stretched and get ready to loose to pinch run for a guy, that he gets in and he gets on and you get to run for him. See, I've had a lot of miscarriages where, you know, I'm running for so-and-so and he pops up, you know, and it's like, oh, jeez. You have to, like, next inning, okay, you're running for him and he pops up. Now you're all stretched out with no place to go.
During the Tigers' stretch run last year, Jim scored some important runs. But at the start of this year, he wasn't even on the roster.
There's some goofy rules and all this other stuff, and it comes down to, well, if we send you down to the minor leagues in a minor league contract, we won't have to pay you a lot of money to play down there if you don't make the team. And when they explained that to me, I said, well, geez, I'd do the same thing.
Not to worry, though. Jim is back and finding out he's not just another pretty face.
Like, I've been having these weird things in Detroit. Like, I live downtown, and people look at me now. And I'm, like, getting kicked off. It's like, what are you staring at? But then I'm kind of thinking, like, oh, he maybe recognized me. So, you know, I'm not getting ticked off at people staring at me, you know. I don't know if that's good or bad.
This is the story of Don Werner, who at age 35 has incredibly been in the same minor league for 14 straight years.
Every year since 1975 to this year, I have spent some time in the American Association, and I've played, I think, 11 full seasons, and I've been 14 years in this league and 11 full seasons here, and the other 3 seasons I've spent at least part of the season.
Don's taste to the big leagues has been mostly at the end of each season, but with time, it's added up.
I got a whole year in the big leagues just from being called up in September.
But even then, Don felt a little guilty, thanks to a childhood memory.
When I was growing up, I was a big Cubs fan. And I remember that my dad took me to my first big league game, and my hero had always been Ernie Banks. And when I got to the game, they announced the starting lineups, and they had some guy named Leo Burke playing first base. And I couldn't believe it that this was my first game. I'd waited all this time to see Ernie Banks, and he wasn't in the lineup. You know, how did they not know that I was coming to this game? How could they possibly take Ernie out of the lineup that day? Anyway, so I finally made it up to the major leagues, and I was starting my first big league game. This thought came to me. I got to think, I wonder if there's some kid in the stands today that has traveled 200 miles and has seen his first big league game, and he looks down and he sees Don Werner catching, and he had come all this way to see Johnny Bench, his hero.
Don played the same scrappy defense as Bench and got to run into some of his heroes, like Pete Rose. All that was missing was the bat.
He was one of those outstanding young catchers in our game. It's too bad he didn't hit a lot.
Doggy, we called Don Werner Doggy. He was a real hard-working young kid. Spent a lot of time in the minor leagues. Johnny Bench was in the hospital and was hurt, and they called Doggy up from the AAA ball club when Johnny got hurt, and Donnie caught me a few times, and oddly enough, the only no-hitter that I throw in the major leagues was with a catcher that I worked with only probably 3 or 4 times in my entire career. Great kid.
Werner is now a coach with Oklahoma City and certainly an expert on AAA baseball, and he likes what he sees.
In the 14 years I've been here, I'd say the league has changed as far as the conditions. I think a lot of the minor league teams have taken a little more pride in their field. They fix them up. The clubhouses are nicer. And also the attendance is a lot better.
Don's dream is to manage in the majors, and it may not surprise you that he's willing to wait. On deck for next week's cover story, women who play hardball. We'll travel back to the days of the old All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, when satin shorts under miniskirts met with uniform approval. And we'll spotlight the newly formed American Women's Baseball Association.
I've been a big baseball fan. I love professional baseball, and this is the first opportunity I've ever had to play organized baseball, and so I took it.
This is Warner Fusel.